What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of a show about food. Hopefully this stream is working pretty okay. If you see that there's having any problems, feel free to drop a comment in the chat. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to talk a little bit about MasterChef. It was the season premiere of season 11 today, and if you guys had a sharp eye, you will have noticed me in the background. I was there actually supporting my friend. I'm not actually going to spoil too much about what happened because they didn't feature his competition yet, but I will talk a little bit about the experience that I had while I was on the show, and also a little bit about what how can I say, how much reality is actually in reality TV. So the first thing I want to say is that it's really, really, really hard to do what all those guys on TV are doing. So shout out to all those people, regardless of how far they proceeded into the competition, regardless of how much slack, how much crap they might have gotten from the judges. They had a very, very difficult journey to get to where they were, and it's really, really, really not easy to do what they're doing on TV. So, all respect due. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, feel free to drop it in the chat because I am here to respond to absolutely everything that you guys say, even if I don't answer it with an answer. And yes, agreeing with the comments, not much reality in reality TV. What's going on, Josh and Mary? Thanks for tuning in today. So, real quick, let's talk a little bit about my time on MasterChef. I was on the show on season 8. I made it to the White Apron Challenge. Something out of 40,000 people, they chose me. But I'm gonna kind of say it as it is, and just say that there was no question that my dish was the best of the 4 that I went on with. You guys can feel free to check it out and leave a comment below to let me know what you think. But I was on season 8, episode 2. I was a steak challenge against 3 other gentlemen. And one of the things that you have to know when it comes to making reality TV is that the producers don't really care about how good you are at cooking. They care about making good television. Because at the end of the day, the audience, that's you at home, can't taste the food. You can't smell the food. You can't feel the food. So you don't know if it's well done. You don't know if it's overcooked. You don't know if it's perfectly cooked. At the end of the day, the judges, and here's a secret, can lie. The judges can lie to make you think that a dish is better or worse than it is in reality, simply to push the narrative so that they can get what they need done and create good television. I know it's really, really shady, but it is what it is, you know? They're not in it to make a fantastic television show where it's all about food excellence. For something like that, you might want to tune into something like Top Chef or Chopped. I think they're a little bit more about the food. But for MasterChef, you're tuning in to see drama, man. You're tuning to see people be mean to each other. You're tuning in to see judges like Joe and Gordon rip people a new one and make fun of people. Interestingly, the Asian cowboy on this season, like at one point he started dancing with Joe, and it was really, really interesting. Just like the entire premise of the show is less about how good you cook and more about how much entertainment value you can provide to the audience at home. How's it going, Maya? And hello, Mr. Person I don't know, asking about streaming older seasons later on. I don't know if I can. That's like a copyright thing, and I'm pretty sure that's a fast way for me to get taken down. But if you watch it and then you tune in here, I'm happy to answer any questions you have about those episodes. All right, so let's talk a little bit about why I'm doing this show, why I'm doing this channel. I'm doing this channel largely because a lot of times some people on reality TV get a really, really bad rep. And I feel like it kind of sucks. A lot of these people, like some of these people might not be the nicest people in the world. I'm sure there are jerks and bullies that end up on the show, but a lot of the people that end up on the show who are jerks and bullies are actually put up to become that way. A great example is a guy from my season. His name is Brian O'Brien, and he was in my competition, and he was legit a super, super nice guy. Yet, when they were casting him, they thought that he fit the perfect, for lack of a better word, dirtbag type of character. You know, he was like super, super arrogant, super, super cocky, They tried to make him out to be the ladies' man, and it's funny because he just played along. His whole thing was like, look, I don't care if I have to act and pretend like I'm somebody I'm not, just so that I can make it on this show, train with professional chefs, and really pursue my dream. And all respect to him for that. You know, he's doing different things now with his life. I think he's don't quote me on this, but last I heard he was working with a winery as a sommelier. He actually went on to study at the Culinary Institute in America in NorCal, which is a fantastic, prestigious school. And he actually spent some time apprenticing under a chef named Thomas Keller, who's, you know, top 5 in the most famous and respected chefs in America. So, at the end of the day, I kind of feel like it's a good opportunity to not so much talk trash about the production, but just say, like, some of these guys that don't get a fair shake, they're not as bad as the television makes it seem like they are, so to speak. One important thing to know is that a lot of times you'll notice a judge eating something and then they'll cut away, like they'll cut to the dish and you'll hear an audio of their responses. A lot of times that's post-production editing. So you can't see their words because those words aren't actually coming out of their mouth at that point in time. Those words are added after the fact to kind of fill the narrative that they're looking to accomplish. So I know this is all like shenanigans and it seems like everything sucks and it's terrible, but at the end of the day, it makes compelling TV. Like, we don't complain about sitcoms being inauthentic or like fantasy or fiction. The only thing that's kind of lame about this is that it presents itself as reality. It presents itself as reality TV. And one of the reasons I want to talk about it is, like, these are real people. These are real people who have real lives, and sometimes the hate they get and the negative fallout really, really negatively affects them. Some people get depressed. There were a couple seasons before mine where one of the contestants, one of the finalists even, actually ended up having like a pretty bad breakdown, and he ended up taking his own life. And I don't know how much that had to do with his time on the show, but I do know that your time on the show is extremely stressful. It causes a lot of anxiety. You know, they basically have you stored away in a hotel room for like 15 to 20 hours a day, and they just take you out to eat, they take you out to film, and otherwise you're not allowed to leave the premises unless you ask one of the staff of the show if you're allowed to leave. In seasons past, people have been quietly eliminated without explanation because they broke the rules and they did things like trying to sneak out or trying to sneak a cell phone in so they could call their family. You're only allowed one phone call per week for 15 minutes in that one phone call. And it's interesting because, like, there's no reason that that should be the case. There's no reason that you should be deprived of the opportunity to talk to your family, especially since the fact that they're there monitoring you. You know, I think they make it seem like the whole point is they're trying to prevent you from leaking information, but A, they have a bazillion contracts preventing that from happening and have tons of legal recourse from preventing you from doing that. Secondly, they're there watching you when you're having your phone calls. There's no privacy. So even if you did start to say something that you're not supposed to say, the handler can just be like, hey man, you got to cut it off, take the phone right away, and, you know, stop that conversation from going. So it's all a scam. It's all not a scam, like a ploy to make you feel tired, to make you feel emotionally drained, to make you feel mentally frazzled so that you make better television. Because people who are well-adjusted and super happy don't make great TV. It's the people who are like really stressed out and are like lacking sleep and their diet sucks and all the things are kind of out of whack that start saying things that are inappropriate or saying things that could come back to bite them in the butt in post-edit. So cut the people you see on TV a little bit of slack. You know, in many cases they're decent people and they might not be as bad as the production makes it out to be. Some questions here. What's your opinion of the guy who decided to make smashed potatoes in the blender? I'm not sure if this is from my season, because in my competition, Akash, who I think is one of the most talented chefs on my entire season, who was eliminated in the same competition I was, who in my opinion probably made the second best dish of the day, he blended his potatoes. And my opinion of the guy is he's a great guy. I think he has a great sense of what tastes good and what good flavors go together. And the blending potatoes in a blender thing, I mean, it's a common mistake, especially on TV shows like this. And they definitely ham it up. They definitely make it a huge deal so that people will like tune in and be like, "What the heck?" You know, like catastrophe. You've ruined your dish forever. And in my opinion, it's possible that it was bad, but I wasn't able to taste it, and I don't know how long you blended it, but it ultimately served as a good excuse to send him home and be a justification for the judges to send him home. So, for example, like a great example for me is that on my dish, so I introduced my dish as sweet potato. No, I introduced my dish as Northern Thai inspired ribeye with a sweet potato puree and fried Brussels sprouts, right? I remember Gordon kept on calling my dish a mash. He kept on being like, you know, so tell me more about your sweet potato mash. Tell me more about your sweet potato mash. And one time I slipped up and I repeated what he said, sweet potato mash. And the production team used that as an excuse to start talking about, like, man, your mash is so wet. Why is your mash so wet? It shouldn't be wet. And I was in the show, like during the filming, I actually argue back. It's not a mash. It's actually a puree. And you know, even the judges were like, well, maybe it's good. I mean, it tastes good, but you know, it's too wet for a mash. And I'm like, well, it's not a mash. It's a puree. And it's like the appropriate consistency and texture of a puree. But at the end of the day, they edit out all my justifications. They edit out all my defense of my dish, and they just leave you with what's necessary to sell the audience on my dish's inadequacy, right? All right, so I wanted to kind of touch base on some other dirty secrets about the production. And this is like some shady stuff, real talk. Like, I think it's kind of lame. I think it's kind of sad that this is something that happens. Matthew L. I think that's Matt Lee, and thank you. You are also handsome. Maybe you're not, but I'm sure you're handsome regardless. Can I give you an example of somebody quietly eliminated? I can't off the top of my head. There was a gentleman, maybe season 6 or 7. If you just kind of Google it, you'll find out quiet eliminations of MasterChef pretty easily. But getting back to some shady stuff that happens on reality TV. So it's kind of sad, man. Like, a lot of these people come from really, really, I don't want to say like poor fortunes, but these are people who can't afford to take time off of work. These aren't people who can afford to leave behind their careers. These are people who are living paycheck to paycheck and don't have huge savings. And the competition actually like basically puts the onus on you. It's up to you to sacrifice everything to make it to the show. And you might think, oh, well, they're pursuing their dreams. But the thing that I think is kind of shady is that at the end of the day, the production knows whether or not they're going to keep you. You know, the production already has it scripted that you are basically fodder to be sacrificed to the altar of making this good TV show. And it's kind of lame that they bring out people, in many cases, just to make fun of them. You know, they bring out people to just feature them as failures. Like, they do it all the time on American Idol, where they bring in bad singers who overreact when the judges eliminate them, and they make it all about like sensationalizing their failure. And I know these people kind of sign up for it, but it also kind of sucks. You know, it kind of sucks that this production makes tons of money by just kind of being a bully and embarrassing people. So I'm here to kind of like call it as it is, say the unpopular thing, and talk about how it's kind of like poor form in my opinion. Another thing is like, with regards to these people who are leaving behind their lives, a lot of times I've seen a couple different seasons of the show. I've been a part of 2 different seasons now, and I've seen a lot of people sacrifice things that they couldn't afford to sacrifice. People who are paycheck by paycheck and didn't have savings, right? They kind of are like sold on this dream by the production that they're going to go out and become the next big thing, and that you know, this is going to be their career, that they're going to be taken care of, and that things are going to be great. And I've seen people really, really devastated by how little their cooking mattered, you know? At the end of the day, I think it's kind of inauthentic and hurtful to some of us with dreams when we go out there. And for example, on my season, I had a team of 40 people, 40 contestants that were cut down to a top 20. And in that top 40, I saw people who, like, to this day are shaken up and bitter about the fact that they made it seem like all the judges tasted their food, but only one of the judges tasted their food. So let me kind of unpack that a little bit. A lot of times when you see the judges critiquing food, like on my season, you'll see like 4 judges all eating food, and they'll make it seem like all 4 had a discussion about who deserved to go, right? So on my season, on my competition, there were 4 different chefs cooking, and there were 3 different judges, okay? 4 chefs, 4 chefs, 4 judges? 4 chefs, 3 judges. Yeah, 4 chefs, 3 judges. Sorry, it's been a while since I've thought about my episode, or watched my episode. On this competition, Gordon tried my dish, and he tried Akasha's dish, another competitor's. Aron Sanchez tried another guy's dish, and Christina Tosi tried Brian O'Brien's dish, right? And then the 3 of them, Christina Tosi, Aron Sanchez, and Gordon Ramsay, went back and started talking about whose dish was best. And the question I have to ask is, like, how can you discern whose dish is best if you haven't tried all 4 dishes? Like, are you going to be like, well, this guy's dish was scrumptious. Well, that guy's dish was delicious. And this guy's dish, well, it was quite tasty. So clearly scrumptious is higher than delicious, and quite tasty is at the bottom. No, like, that doesn't make sense. You know, you've got to try all 4 dishes so you have a first-hand experience of what that dish is, so you can discern which dish is better. Newsflash, that doesn't happen. Sometimes it does. In certain competitions and on certain episodes it does. But the vast majority of them, it's just one dude tasting it and pretending like all the other judges taste it as well to make it seem authentic. So, reality flash, or newsflash, not so much authenticity when it comes to the judging. Another thing that's really, really lame is the fact that the production basically coerces you to play a character. And the way they do this is by asking you leading questions. On my season, they asked all the Asian guys, and it's kind of appropriate now to like put them on blast for this because, you know, like all the anti-Asian hate that's going on. But they asked us all to say, like, in the kitchen, I'm like Mr. Miyagi. And the way they try to get you to say that is they would ask you a question while you're on camera in an interview, and they'd say, Michael, would you consider yourself the Mr. Miyagi of the kitchen? And like, you're supposed to respond to that question not by saying yes or no, because you never hear the producers. They always tell you, make sure that the audience knows what you're responding to. So if you just say, if they ask you that question, you just say, yes, I am. That's not enough context. They'll repeat the question so that you will say what they want you to say. I remember when they asked me that, I was like, nah, bro, I'm totally not selling out, and I'm not going to be a jerk to my people and misrepresent myself in that way. But, like, other contestants did. And it's no, like, disrespect to them complying to the studio or the audience's request, because at the end of the day, you're trying to make it onto the show, and it kind of sucks. You know, like, it kind of sucks that, you know, people are going to be, how can I say, like, their hopes and dreams are directly pinned to this really lame thing that they're trying to make you do. So, for example, for me personally, the place where I sold out is with regards to martial arts, right? So I remember when I was auditioning for the show, they asked me, like, all right, tell me about yourself. And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. Like, my name's Mike Rao. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I love Jesus. I love food. I love traveling. I love rock climbing. And they were like, And they're like, you know, they were clearly wanting to hear me say more. And I kept going. So I was like, I started listing off, oh, I really like music. I really like, you know, fine dining. I just started deep sea, or I started free water foraging. I started this, I started that, and I started describing all the things. And at the very bottom of the things is like, oh yeah, you know, growing up I did martial arts. And they were like, really? You did martial arts when you were growing up? Tell me more. Like, they interrupted me, and they were like, oh yeah, okay, now the question I'm asking you, And I'll pause for the audience to respond. Why did they ask me why did they ask me to tell them more about doing martial arts? Also, hello Goldie, long time no see. Thanks for tuning in. I realized that the comments and my audio is lagged, so there'll probably be a delay between you hearing what I just asked and then you guys being able to respond. So I'm just filling in the dead space by talking about that lag and taking a sip of my water. It's a good day today. Thanks for joining me. Super appreciate all the love. And yeah. All right, it's enough time. I didn't get any responses. I'll talk about it. It's because of race. It's because of what the audience perceives or prepares to perceive. Yes, he got it. Sorry, I started a little bit early. But Josh, you are absolutely right. And I'm not saying that it's malicious racism. I'm not saying that it's oh, super terrible, they're awful people. But at the end of the day, Hollywood has a very clear assumption of what they think America wants to see. And that manifests itself time and time again. If you watch our show, if you watch MasterChef, you'll find that in every single season of MasterChef, they do something with an Asian dude doing martial arts, or they do something with an Asian dude whose parents don't approve of his opportunity or his desire to be a chef, because that's oh, as an Asian, my parents want me to be a doctor or an engineer, and they don't want me to be a cook. They don't want me to be a chef. And one of the things that they think that America will be accepting of is the idea of, oh, well, you're Asian, and Asian people do martial arts. Asian people do kung fu, like Jackie Chan, right? So can you do a little bit of martial arts kung fu for me? And I remember when they were asking me, I was guys, I haven't done martial arts since I was 18, I mean, I was kind of doing them into my 20s, but not really seriously since I was 18. And I haven't regularly done it in over half a decade. And they're no, that's cool, just talk about it. Talk about your black belt. Tell me more about how your martial arts skills will translate well into the kitchen arena. And I remember they kept on pushing that note. And I remember if you watch, you will see a grudging compliance. Because I try to talk about other stuff that matter to me. I try to talk about, working with kids safe from human trafficking. I try to talk about going overseas and serving the underprivileged. I try to talk about my involvement in the church. But at the end of the day, they don't see somebody like me and think that America wants to associate that with, humanitarian worker. They see the hipster pastor with all the tattoos who's yeah, man, I love Jesus. And they're oh, that works. Or if they see the Hallelujah Jesus black preacher lady. And it's cool that those people represented Christians in a really cool and reasonable way, but also sucks that they kind of pigeonhole you, They don't want you to talk about stuff that's real and stuff that matters. They want you to be the next Asian Bruce Lee, or I mean, this is kind of shady. Look, I'm gonna say it as it is, okay? I think, I would go further than think, and I would say I know that the production wants to depict Asian males as emasculated or effeminate, or in many cases, gay. And I don't think there's anything wrong with gay people. I don't have any hatred towards gay people. In fact, I have many gay friends, and I'm very supportive of gay rights, I think that gay people should have all the same treatment that non-gay people have. I should think that they should have all the government-protected liberties that straight people do. So please don't cancel me. I'm talking about a taboo subject. But this is specifically with regards to how production thinks that America doesn't believe in the possibility of a normal, masculine, I don't want to say alpha Asian, but definitely not an effeminate Asian. They think we should kind of be quiet and meek, and they think that that's what America wants to see. So they cast people like that. If you actually look at MasterChef, in seasons past, it's always that guy, super flamboyant, super effeminate. And my whole thing is look, I have no problem with the fact that you're casting Asians like that, but the proportionate representation is inaccurate and unfair. If the representation and the proportions of the show were true, then it would be 90% of all Asians happen to be gay, which is clearly not the case. You know what I mean? Um, it's kind of disappointing, and it's sad, and it's a thing that Hollywood is slowly waking up to, but TV is still way behind. Middle America is still being fed this drivel, this nonsense, and we're just starting to break in and overturn and overwrite the narrative. Anyway, so a couple of different things that people have popped in and said. What's going on, Tyler? Alpha Asian, Goku? Heck yeah. But he's not really Asian. He's a Saiyan. So I'll take credit for Goku being an Asian, and I will say 0, 0, I'll fully own it, Well, thank you for giving us Goku. He's kind of like not necessarily an Asian or a white person or an anything, just he's an alien. But yeah, somebody asked earlier, who should be in the top 10 of your season? Oh man, this is hard. For those of you who watch my season and are familiar with my season, I don't want to slight anybody. I will talk about people who I know were extremely talented. And this is not a comprehensive statement. There are people that I didn't get to see cook, so I don't know how good they actually were. But this is just a commentary on the talent I've seen firsthand. Pastor Sean, who was eliminated, I think, in the first episode, in a head-to-head with Ishika, is quite a talented chef. I think my former roommate, Gabe, shout out to Gabe, Gabriel Luis, was a very, very talented young chef. I think the runner-up, Jason Wong, was an amazing chef. I remember on his competition, his challenge was scallops, right? And he decided, this crazy guy decides to take whatever, 30, 20, I don't know how many minutes they had, but it wasn't a lot of time, and prepare scallops 3 ways. I don't know if I could have pulled that off. I think I would have just thought about making a simple single dish, but the guy managed to crush it, pulled off scallops 3 ways, and made it all the way to the finale. Another guy that I really like is Yan Ban Che. I'm saying his name terribly. His name's Yan, right? He actually didn't make it to the top 40. He was eliminated in the top 80. But he was an extremely gifted chef, an extremely gifted strategist. No, not strategist. He's just a very, very informed culinary mind. Like, he understood a lot about food science. He had a very, very strong understanding of molecular gastronomy and just how food works on a chemical level. He went to Harvard, super bright guy, was going into Princeton. But yeah, let's actually dig into that for a little bit. The production, right? When they decide to cast some people, what they do is they take double the amount of the people that actually end up on the first 2 episodes. So for my season, the first 2 episodes had 40 people. They pulled 80 people out of America and brought them out to LA to appear in front of the judges, not the official judges, but the producers. They spent a week with all these people, myself included, and they kind of like interviewed you a lot. They listened to you speak. They listened to you answer questions. They watched you cook. And they basically did an evaluation. And the funny thing is, a lot of times, there were doppelgangers. They take like 2 of the same person. I remember on my season, there were 2 African-American gentlemen who were super tall, and one was an opera singer. The other one was an opera music play. No, sorry, not an opera. A wedding singer, and the other one was a wedding DJ. And they were like the same person being asked the same questions, and the production's just like, well, let's see which of these same guys, same stereotype, same like category we want to go with. And they did the same thing with like half of the people on my show. Like I remember there was a doppelganger for Yoshika. There was a doppelganger for Mike Newton, the cowboy. The other guy was a much smaller, less big, burly guy, kind of like a tiny dude, tiny cowboy. And like they just kind of spent a week with them to discern who they like. And then they spent another week filming the first 2 episodes, which you guys possibly just watched. Okay, couple of questions. Yeah, dude, like, it sucks, man. Like, we're not all Bruce Lees or Lady Boys, It's kind of garbage, and that's a narrative that's being pushed by the West. It's not a truth that's based in the East. I like it. Space Mongol. That's pretty on the point. Yeah, guys, don't be bashful. Hit me up in the comments. I am reading them and replying to them as you guys come in. I very much appreciate every single person, and I'm going to continue to repeat that because it's straight from the heart. That you guys would spend a little bit of your Wednesday night with me. It means a lot. It means a lot to my efforts to do this thing and tell my story and share kind of important things about the nature of this show and the nature of reality TV, and kind of advocate for some people who get the shorter end of the stick. Yeah, man, like a lot of times I look at past seasons and I wonder how much of the nonsense that people say. I know there was a guy who was I think professional poker player on season 7, African American dude. I think he was also like a professional Magic the Gathering player, and they just made him look terrible. You should go check out his like interviews and him talking about his experience and how it was like really unfair, and they just made him look like a brat. I remember when I was watching it before I had ever competed. You know, this is the season, maybe season 6, maybe season 7. I remember watching it and I was like, man, this guy's a freaking jerk. This guy is a like brat, and he needs to get eliminated now. And in retrospect, hearing about what they were putting him through, hearing about how they kept on trying to press him and kept on like giving him crap and like making him break, I feel really bad for the guy. You know, who knows whether he's a nice guy or not a nice guy, but it was just a really insincere way for the production team to portray him. So there's that. David Williams, yes, thank you. Super fast. Was there a champion from the older seasons you do not think deserved to win, like season 6 or season 10? I didn't watch season 10, and I don't remember who won season 6, so sorry. And in general, you're not gonna hear me talk trash about any of the fellow contestants from the show. At the end of the day, it's not easy. You know, it's not easy to give up that much of your time, to give up that much of your life to go pursue this dream that's promised. You know, you don't get paid. You get like a tiny per diem that isn't enough to cover your cost of food. You're like forced to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning. Hey, Dina. And you're forced to do things that are just like really inauthentic, and you're like they're constantly trying to break you and get you to say something bad so that they can make good TV. And it's hard to be on your best behavior at all times, you know? It's just kind of rough. I don't know who is the strongest champion, but I do know who my favorite champion is. I don't even know how good of a chef she is, but I think Christine Haas's story was beautiful. And if I were a competitor on her season, and, you know, like they were doing the first apron challenge, as soon as I saw there was a blind chef, I would have been like, all right, guys, I'm going home. She's obviously going to win. There is no way any of us are going to beat her, because the story of a blind chef is going to be fantastic. But yeah, like, it was interesting. I actually tried to use I don't want to call it a handicap, but it was a handicap. I'm going to own it. It was a disability. My shoulder was paralyzed for some of the show. And when I say paralyzed, I mean like the reason why my Instagram handle is Tyrannosaurus Chef is because I was hit with an idiopathic nerve condition which left my shoulders paralyzed. So if you watch really carefully, in order for me to grab stuff, instead of just like reaching out my arm like this, I would have to rotate. And like, I was like a Tyrannosaurus, you know, like can't like, anyway, you guys get the idea. That's why I leaned into the Tyrannosaurus moniker for my Instagram and for some of my social. But my shoulders have gotten better since. But during the filming, my shoulders were heavily impaired. And they didn't want to talk about that because I think it just doesn't show up on camera. Like, where somebody's blind is like super obvious. This girl's blind. There's no way that, you know, it's like very easy to communicate to the audience that she's super blind and that it's really impressive what she's doing. I think for me, they're like, oh, let's not talk about that. Let's like avoid that topic, because at the end of the day, they didn't want to push that narrative. They didn't see it fitting into their little script that they had written for my season. So, Tyrannosaurus, I love it. All right, so who is my least favorite and most favorite legend that I got to interact with? I think you're probably gonna have to tune in next week to hear a little bit more about that, because this week, if I start talking about it, well, NDAs. Yeah. NDAs. Anyway, if you guys are super eagle-eyed and look very carefully at the crowd, you will see a former guest, two former guests of a show about food, too. Accompanying, actually I'm not going to say anymore. If you look really carefully, you will see three gentlemen. I am one of the three. Three gentlemen. I am one of the three on the sets of MasterChef who were previously on my YouTube channel. And I'll talk more about that next week when all the NDAs are cleared up and everything is A-OK. So, one thing that I kind of wanted to loop back and chat about is how it sucks that these people who go out, sacrifice all this effort, all this time, all this energy, all this money in pursuit of their dreams, they're then told to tell their family to leave behind their work, leave behind their schools, pay for a flight to Los Angeles, pay for a hotel, and then sacrifice a week of their life just so that the production doesn't need to pay for extras. One of the reasons reality TV exists is because it's all unpaid labor. There's no SAG, there's no like Screen Actors Guild, there's no, these contestants don't get paid. The people who get paid are Gordon Ramsay and the judges, but like people like you and me, like I got paid I think like $20 a day, something nothing, like it was like nothing. It was like literally just money to buy food, and you're at a hotel, so like an entree costs like $25, so it's not even enough money to like pay for food. Actually, it might have even been like $50 a week. I remember it was like it was like nothing. It was really, really not enough. But like people are so willing to pursue their dreams, and they pull in the family and loved ones of people that people who are trying to pursue their dreams. That family is willing to support them. And the really lame thing is that like they really lean into it. They like really coerce people to fly out there and be a part of the production. I remember there was on my season, one of the wives really didn't want to fly because she was scared of flying, and they coerced the husband into pressuring the wife to fly. And in his mind, he was like, oh, it's because they're going to take me, and they want that shot of us together, and it's going to be amazing. And then they eliminated him. And another person just had a baby, or like, this is the husband. The wife just had a baby, and she was way, way, way too close to the pregnancy or the delivery to be safe to fly. And the production leaned into him, and it was like, oh, you got to come out, you got to come out, you got to bring him out. And he had the same idea, and they sent him home. And I just look at that, and I'm like, man, like, not only are you making, you know, all these people's families fly out on their own dollar, put up their own hard-earned cash, you already know that you're not going to send them, you're not going to like give them the glory of a white apron. You're literally just using these people as free labor. And the days are torturous. The filming days, you're up there, like the call time, I believe is like 4:30 in the morning. They schlep you over to the studio, and then you're there until like 6 o'clock at night. And it's super, super terrible. Like they don't give you good food. They don't give you, I remember on my season, one of the contestants' moms had to be hospitalized due to a heat stroke. Heat stroke. That sucks, man. You know, the production just straight up doesn't care. And like, it was just really, really terrible. Like, the thing that sucks is that they're abusing people legally because they know that these people have these crazy dreams. And for me, I don't know, man, that just doesn't sit right by me. I think there's a great way to make television that you can pay a little bit more money, get a little bit less margin, but you can create fantastic stories and tell authentic, drama-filled, culinary stories. But unfortunately, I'm not the one that calls the shots. We live in a capitalist society where, you know, the dollar is supreme, and it is what it is. So, I'll get in trouble if I mention stuff now. Yeah, I might get in trouble for this. Jiang. Hopefully I don't. If I do, well, you heard it here first. Spread the word. I'm happy to be the John to the gospel of reality TV being terrible. If I get beheaded, yeah, well, it would have been well worth it. Dude, it's totally like jury duty. Like 100%, it's like jury duty. It's so not nice. You don't get compensated well. You don't get like treated well, and they kind of just abuse you because they know that you are there to support somebody who's pursuing their dreams, and they can get away with it. And they've gotten away with it for 11 seasons. Okay, are you allowed to go on any other shows, or are you on some sort of non-compete, says Josh. So me personally, because they eliminated me so early, honestly, dude, guys, I know this might be me sounding like I'm salty, sounding like I'm just like rewriting and being a revisionist about history. Getting eliminated at the White Apron stage was the best thing that could have happened to me. The freedom that I have away from the contracts and the ability to pursue my culinary dreams on my own without the oversight of the production. So good, so good. Like, I don't think that there's any alums, and this isn't to slight anyone who's been there and done that, but I've spent time training in the best restaurants on 4 different continents, and I've paved my own path. There's no drama, there's no like fakeness to the story. I've flown around the world on my own dime pursuing the things that I'm passionate about, and I've had doors open because of my hard work. And the thing is, if I did MasterChef, I wouldn't have been able to do that. You know, I would have had contractual obligations to the show, which I'm not allowed to talk about, so I'm not going to talk about. But it definitely would have lampooned my desire to go and study under, you know, the best chefs of the world. You know, it would have stopped me from going to San Sebastian and Morocco and Singapore and Dubai and, well, not Dubai, sorry, Bangalore. Stopped by in Dubai, but I did not cook or train in Dubai. But, you know, training with my friend Pritham in Bangalore was a freaking gem of an event. And, like, being able to, like, learn alongside of him was one of the great joys of my culinary journey. Shout out to Tyler and Goldie again. You guys got to eat some of Pritham's food. He's a freaking assassin. He actually, funnily enough, we prepared a, it's not an engagement, it was like a pre-wedding banquet for a good friend of mine. And he also, so it was me, him, and a cousin of the bride. And the 3 of us prepared this great banquet. But the funny thing is, Pritham and I were both on MasterChef. He was on MasterChef India, I was on MasterChef US. And we were both eliminated super early, and we had some funny stories. But the guy's a freaking legend. He trained in Gagan, which I think was number 4 in the restaurant's top 50 restaurants of the world. He's been a world traveler, and he's crushing it, and he's one of the most talented chefs I know. And the production thought he'd make good enough TV. Some more questions. That's scummy. Yes, it is, Josh. Yes, it is. Capitalism at its finest. Indeed, Acacia. And yeah, Tyler, they do not get paid. Like when I was there supporting somebody, not as a competitor. And yeah, like, I mean, I was fortunate that I lived in LA and the production's in LA. But we booked a hotel, you know, like it's really crappy too. We're like, hey, what days do I need to be here? Like, what days is the competition that I'm here for going to take place on, right? And they're like, oh, we don't know yet. You know, we'll let you know a couple days before so you can make a proper accommodations. Because I was like booking a hotel. So I like book like 3 days out. And they're like, oh yeah, you know, we should be able to give you 2 days head notice. And the freaking thing is like, he's the first competition. The competition that I was there for was the very first competition. And that was being told to me the day before. So I booked 3 hotel days for no reason. And they didn't give a crap. They knew the production schedule. They knew who was going to go, what, when, where, why. And they were just like, whatever, you know. We have no liability. We don't care about you. We don't care about what you have to pay, what you have to sacrifice, what you have to do to make it out to the show. So, sucks. You know, you're here to support your friend. Well, take it on the chin, buddy. Capitalism at its finest and truth. Yeah, man. Cutting costs to save money for the people that bankroll the financing, that's exactly what this is. It is a business, and as a fellow businessman, I understand that you are trying to make money with your investment and your hard work, and you have a big salary to pay all your celebrities that you have come onto the show. but I don't think it justifies or excuses what I consider immoral or, I mean, further than immoral, reprehensible ethical behavior. You know, at the end of the day, there's a way to do it. Like, look at the Great British Bake Off. Like, that's a freaking stellar show. You know, no souls are ruined. No dreams are dashed. I mean, I'm sure some dreams are dashed, but it's just done in such a nice way where people aren't misportrayed. They treat the staff, or they treat the contestants right, and it's still fantastic television. I mean, somebody can fact check me, but I think the Great British Bake Off is as successful or more successful than MasterChef. Don't quote me on that. But, I mean, the formula works. Why don't we do it here? We can totally accomplish it without being unethical and shady. All right, more questions. In Hell's Kitchen, someone broke his arm and won the season. Holy cow, that's super impressive. I wonder, though, how much him breaking his arm factored into winning the season. Because, like, at the end of the day, that's a fantastic story. You know, like, I overcame all odds and broke my arm. Oh, I broke my arm and still overcame all odds to make it and win the Master or Hell's Kitchen title. I'm not saying that he didn't deserve it, because I have no idea, you know, who this person is. Maybe he super did deserve it, and he just managed to overcome the handicap. But I will say that's crazy good narrative. Like, maybe he just had a bruise on his arm. Maybe it was like a little sprain, and they were like, let's ham it up. Let's make it sound worse than it is. That's what happens in TV. All right. How would you think you would do in an environment like Hell's Kitchen? Terribly. I think culinarily I would do pretty okay. I think, you know, I've trained in some of like the top restaurants in the world. Two of my chef mentors actually competed against each other on one of the earlier seasons of America's Next Iron Chef, or like Next Iron Chef America. I don't know exactly what the name of the title of the show is, but Hong Taimi of Nam and Taimi Kitchen, based out of New York, and David Lefebvre, who was actually the finalist, who I studied under in Manhattan Beach Post. They competed against each other in an elimination challenge, so pretty cool. But yeah, like, I basically, without working, did like line chef work at some of these top restaurants. At some of the not top restaurants I've trained at, I worked as a sous chef, basically. Not compensated, but just simply because it was weird. I first rejected compensation and rejected employment because I wasn't allowed to as a MasterChef contestant. And it kind of just became the thing, you know? Like, at the end of the day, I don't think I'll ever enter the culinary industry as a restaurateur or a chef, simply because it's a hard lifestyle. And, you know, to conflate money and capitalism with a passion that really, really satisfies me, and really like fuels my soul, it might be a way that it ruins my passion. It might ruin the thing that I love, you know? So I try to kind of keep it separate. Maybe one day that'll change, but it would have to be the perfect circumstances. In the meantime, you guys have me exclusively YouTube. You guys have me day and night to answer your questions and entertain you with my YouTube shenanigans. But yeah, like, the question again was, how do you think I would do in an environment like Hell's Kitchen? I think it's too much drama. I think if Gordon started like yelling at me for something that was not actually bad, I would yell back. And they would portray me like a jerk, because at the end of the day, if there's criticism that's merited, I'm willing to listen to it, and I want to be humble. I want to be receptive. I want to learn. I want to grow. I want to become a better chef. But knowing that how he treats other people on these shows, knowing how he just makes a giant scene and makes people super disrespects people, I wouldn't take that, you know? Even if I did screw up, if he took it a step too far, like if he was just like attacking my character and trying to make me look bad, I'd be like, look, chef, like, all respect due, but you can't talk to me like that, you know? Like, you need to learn how to talk to me like a human being, because I am a human being, and you're another guy with 2 legs and 2 arms. You put your pants on just like I do. Treat me like a human being, or get bent, because this show isn't worth my time that much, or my sacrifice that much. You know, like, one of the interesting things is he comes from this school where it's okay to be like violent and rude and mean and bullies to your like staff. You know, like this old Marco Pierre White, Gordon Ramsay, British French culinary world has really kind of like paved the way for this really arrogant, mean, condescending jerk chef. That's not what you need to run a professional kitchen. That's not what you need to run a positive, like a good professional kitchen. One of my favorite examples is Le Bernardin by Eric Ripert in New York City. Super, super, super good show. Good kitchen. 3 Michelin stars. One of the best chefs in the world. They don't raise their voice there. It's like a choreographed ballet. Super peaceful, super thoughtful, super kind. If somebody messes up, they correct them. They don't correct them like, in an angry or rude way. Another kitchen that I trained at, Andy Ricker did Pok Pok in Portland, and he also had a Pok Pok here in LA, which has since closed. Andy Ricker was kind of like one of the. It's sad that a white guy has to be the guy to be the face of Thai cuisine, but white people like to listen to white people. What can I say? Nowadays it's changing. We have some really, really cool people that are Thai, that are representing Thai cuisine, like Christian Bandung. But he was one of the waymakers. He was one of the guys who blazed the trail for other Thai chefs. So all respect to him. He had a restaurant here in LA called Pok Pok LA, and I was training there, and at 0 point was there stress. There was stress, but were there raised voices? Was there angry rebuke? It was just calm, like everyone spoke in calm tones. Corrections were made in like peaceful, normal. You just treat people like human beings. Anyway, so let's scroll it down a little bit. Scroll down. Yes, Tyler. To this day, I think the best chicken I've ever been a part of making is Pritham's chicken. Holy cow, that was delicious. It was a triple fried chicken with orange zest, and we used potato starch. Oh, I need to get the recipe from him. So good. I think I'm going to make that one of the next episodes of a show about food. Thank you for inspiring me, Tyler. Yeah, man, his chicken was on point. Super good. All right, if you had to make a reality cooking competition, what would it be like? Oh, that's hard, man. I talked about this in the last live stream. I think it's kind of silly how we have reality cooking competitions, or cooking competitions in general. It's like, do we have toilet cleaning competitions? Apparently we do. Like somebody corrected me. But it's interesting that we have turned something that I think is intimate, something that I think is meant to be thoughtful, and it's like we've taken this opportunity to tell a story and to craft this beautiful narrative and turned it into angry competition. It's like Street Fighter, but with food, and it's a little strange to me. It's a little strange that that's a thing that we've done. But to answer your question, if I had to make a cooking reality competition show, what would it be like? I think the first thing is that I would try really hard to not embarrass the contestants. Even if they screwed up, I think it should be, there's a great show. Look it up. Strong recommendation. It's by a chef named Ilan Hall, who is a contestant on Top Chef. I think he actually won or was a runner-up on one of the earlier seasons of Top Chef. Really, really good guy. He had a place called the Gorbals here in LA. So he actually made his own reality TV show called Knife Fight. And it's just fun because the entire premise of the show, it's chefs fighting for bragging rights. And even though they're fighting for bragging rights, they're still freaking cool with each other. They're giving each other crap, and it's like a fun, fraternal competition where there's no inauthentic drama. Nobody hates each other. They're just playing around and doing this silly thing for bragging rights, and it's really really well done. I think I tuned in when it was on. I'll probably go back and watch a couple episodes or try to dig up a couple episodes now that I'm thinking about it. But you see culinary excellence. You see really talented chefs doing their craft and cooking for other chefs and just basically showing off. And it's a really fun premise. You can tell that they're having fun. They're not stressed out. They're just there to showcase their skills and try to impress their friends. So if I were to try to design a reality cooking competition, I would try to do something like that. Definitely a chip off of that block. Less nonsense, less of drama, less garbage TV and more make it about the fraternity, make it about, friends like bragging at each other and, trying to show each other up in a fun way. And most importantly, the cooking. All right, so let's see. Ooh, yeah. All right, so I do not know. So somebody's asking whether or not the show has ever eliminated anyone else because of disqualifications. Honestly, I have no idea. I'm not a super loyal follower of MasterChef. In fact, I actually didn't like the show that much. I remember when I first watched the show, my reaction to the show was like, I can do that. I can do that too. I can do that better than they're doing that. I'm gonna do that. And then I got up and I looked up when they were casting for MasterChef. It wasn't like, oh, this show is so good and I love it so much and it's my dream to be a part of it. No, it was like literally like I was watching and I was like, this isn't hard. I could crush this competition. What the heck? 30 minutes? That's a lot of time. I could do that dish in 10 minutes. And I started like kind of hyping myself up and I got super excited and I was like, no, guys, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna conquer this competition. But unfortunately, not too much reality in reality TV, guys. So my narrative didn't fit what the producers wanted to push. So yours truly was eliminated in competition number 1. All right, anime food battling. Yes, I think it would be fun if you took that premise, the knife fight premise, where it's like fun and everything's like fraternal and nice, and made it like super outrageous and absurdist and funny and like kind of like edit it like with the anime food battling twist. Sword fighting with chicken legs. I think that's a great way to get salmonella. Sorry, I'm responding to a comment from Dina. Yeah, like, it sounds glorious. Kill your enemies with salmonella. Just kidding. It sounds fun, sounds hilarious, but probably a good way to get people sick. Unless you cook the chicken, in which case, it's a waste of food. Why would you sword fight with a gloriously cooked piece of chicken? Maybe the chicken bones? Anyway, so following up, stream it on Twitch. Hey, actually, that's a good idea. Will you guys follow and join me if I migrate to Twitch? Good question for the audience. Thank you for the compliment on my show idea. Forge Like Fire is another really fun show that I've watched. I think it's a little absurd. The thing that always irritates me about Forge and Fire is like there's just no like scientific controls, like when they Forge with Fire, for those of you guys who don't know, is a blacksmithing competition, and a lot of times they'll be like, all right, your competition today is to make a sword. So they'll make a sword and they'll stress test the sword by like swinging it at a pig, and like then they'll test another sword with swinging it against the pig. And it's like, you're not swinging at the same spot, you're not swinging it with the same, it's like, if you want to do it the right way, get a robot that swings it with the same, precision, with at the same part of the animal, like actually stress test it. But it's still a really fun show. I just struggle when it seems a little unfair how they judge which sword moves on. But anyway, there's a glass blowing competition like that called Blown Away. Interesting. I like glass blowing. I should check that out. And yes, Tyler, again, Shokugeki no Soma. A little too pervy, but freaking hilarious. I very much like that manga, and I actually finished it a couple years ago. Very bummed out that it's no longer going on. Other comments. Thanks for joining me, guys. Like, literally, been a stressful day. Super nice to unwind and chat with you guys. Honestly, when I was watching the show, there's a part of me that like I felt like my heart rate. I normally have a pretty mellow heart rate, and I was just like, oh, gosh. Still so many feels. MasterChef Kitchen, so many feels. So it's nice to unwind and unpack with friends and followers who are going to become friends. So, are you aware of and watched other, or are you aware of / watched the other versions of MasterChef, namely MasterChef Canada and MasterChef Australia? Yes, I have. I haven't watched MasterChef Australia too much. I think I've seen like tiny little snippets. But there was a point where I was doing research for MasterChef Canada because I was told, not trying to get anyone in trouble, I had insider information that the people designing the challenges for my season might have come from an overseas production. The end. I'm not gonna say anymore. But yeah, so like I did a little bit of homework. I watched MasterChef Canada, and it's interesting. Like the Canadians are so nice. Like there's no drama whatsoever. One of the funniest things is like on my show, you know, like on US, not my show, but on MasterChef US, they'll do things like, did you taste your dish? Well, you should have, because it has no salt and it's no balance. Did you think about what you were doing with this dish before you started doing it? Well, it shows. Your lack of forethought was obvious. Your dish is disgusting. Throw it in the garbage. And on MasterChef Canada, they'll be like, did you taste your dish? And the guy will be like, no, chef, I didn't have time. And they'll be like, well, you should have. Because it's delicious! And the music will be all happy. And they'll do that with every single one. You know, they'll be like, you didn't plan this dish before, did you? Yeah, it's obvious that you were just winging it. And it's so impressive how good it is! You know, like, they'll like start down a negative road and then suddenly turn and make it super positive. It's so like heartwarming and friendly, and it seems like they all like each other, and I don't see any drama on MasterChef Canada. So yeah, maybe we should make it a little bit more like MasterChef Canada. I don't know how legit the competition is. I don't know how much the cooking actually matters compared to MasterChef US. But at least from a perspective of like it not being trash TV where people get bashed on and people like are encouraged, like literally they encourage us to go after each other and be mean to each other. You know, that's like, it's shady, man. Like you're creating, you're like basically getting it in people's heads that if you're mean to other people, maybe you'll have a better chance at staying in the competition. So people get vicious with their words and their actions towards other people. So we should just be like the Canadians. All right, so it's the visual. I didn't get my oh, I see. Sorry, I do not get your humor. Honestly, are you surprised? We have appearances we have to keep up. Yeah, man. Like, you Canadians, you're too nice. Too freaking nice. I feel like maybe it's the opposite of MasterChef USA, where Canada is like, well, no. That person said his dish smelled funny. We have to edit that out. We Canadians must be super nice. You know, maybe it's just a byproduct of the audiences and the networks knowing that that wouldn't sell as well and that wouldn't be something as appealing to their audiences. So, who knows? Who knows? All right, guys. It's been about an hour. I think I'm going to give it another 10 minutes. I just want to give you a heads up. If you had any questions, please don't be bashful to ask them. I will be back probably next week on Wednesday, hopefully with my friend Aaron Chang. He's actually in New York right now, so we couldn't do a live stream together, but he's enjoying the city and watching MasterChef, I'm sure, on the East Coast. So next week, you can hear from him and hear him talk about his experience as well. In the meantime, I wanted to kind of loop back and talk about one final thing, and it's about MasterChef, obviously. One of the things I wanted to share about is that despite all my saltiness, despite all the negativity, I also want to like encourage people to remember that it's just TV, you know, not to take it too seriously. I think that there's a way to enjoy it and appreciate the production, even if it's not like the nicest thing in the world. I'm not here to like tell you shouldn't support MasterChef. I'm not here to say like, if you like MasterChef, you're a bad person. No, by no means. I get it. They know what they're doing when they're creating entertainment for you. And if you like it, you like it. I just want to say, like, when you watch it with a little grain of salt. Maybe watch it without the grain of salt first and enjoy it, you know, get that satisfaction and enjoyment. But when you decide to hop online and like comment on Twitter or comment on Reddit and bash somebody, think a little bit before you do. You know, consider, is that guy actually that big of a jerk? Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But before we jump into keyboard warrior mode, it's good to kind of have a balanced and healthy approach to thoughtfulness and, yeah, consideration of reality, the reality behind reality TV. All right. We are mandated by law that we are not allowed to be mean, or that we have to go to the camps in Alberta. I don't know if you're kidding at all, Tyler, but that's hilarious. I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. You can't be mean, or else we send you to a re-education camp here in Canada. All right, what was the most difference between the real-life version of somebody and the reality TV version of somebody you saw from season 8? Yeah, I think off the top of my head, Brian O'Brien, man. Brian O'Brien. In real life, he's like a little cocky, but not in a bad way. He's like confident. Cocky is the wrong word. He's very, very confident. But he's not somebody who doesn't understand his limitations, I remember they wanted to make him the ladies' man, the womanizer. So he wasn't allowed to, the girl that he was with, the girl that was supporting him on the show was actually his girlfriend. And they, made him behave like she wasn't his girlfriend because they were like, ooh, he's the ladies' man. He's the guy who hits on everyone, the womanizer. And they basically made him, or encouraged him with leading questions to ask those type of, or to make those type of statements. I remember he was like, all the guys want to be me, all the girls want to be with me. And it's like, dude, that's 100% scripted by production, and you're just repeating it. And again, I'm not criticizing him for doing it. It's what the show wanted. He's just giving them what they want. After our competition, before I went home, after I was eliminated, he was like, yeah, man, at the end of the day, there was no chance I was going home. I knew going into the competition, I gave them everything I wanted. I could have totally failed on my dish. The only way they could have sent me home is if I didn't put a dish out. If I put out an empty plate and didn't finish my dish in time, I would have went home. But other than that, I gave them everything they wanted on the tee. I acted the character that they wanted from me, and I knew that would get me to the finish line. And for me, I don't care. That's what he said. He's like, I don't care if they portray me incorrectly. It's so important for me, and I love the culinary industry so much, and I really want this to be a part of my future, that I don't care how they portray me. I'm willing to sacrifice and self-sabotage my image. I can always rehabilitate it afterward. And all respect to him for that. I don't criticize that thought process. I don't criticize that that mentality of let me just do what it takes to make it onto the show and to forward my career in this way. Because it did. It helped him pursue his dreams, and more power to him for it. One other thing that was particularly funny about Brian O'Brien was the fact that he wasn't cocky at all. In real life, he was just a really cool dude. He's just a nice guy who just, I remember he was complimenting me on my dish. He was like, man, I wanted to eat your steak. He was a little drunk at the time, and he was like, yeah, man, it doesn't matter if I deserve to win or didn't deserve to win. At the end of the day, I was the perfect actor. And he was pretty drunk because he was celebrating after his win at the hotel lobby. Sorry for spoiling that you got drunk, Brian. But yeah, he was just real about it, and he knew exactly what he was getting into. One of the things is he said he saw on the producer's notes, he leaned over and he saw on the clipboard, because the producers are always walking around with notes about everyone because there's a lot of people, and they saw in big bold letters, a-hole. I'm censoring because I don't know if there are any kids watching, but it said a-hole in big bold letters, and he was like, I got this. They weren't showing it to him, but they were like, this is what they want from me, and he leaned and he saw womanizer, a-hole, and he's like, I got it. Get out of the way. I'm going to crush this presentation, and there's no way they're going to send me home because I'm going to crush the acting side, the entertainment side of the show. So that's my answer to the question. Actually, no, another one. Dino Luciano. That guy isn't from New York, bro. I don't know if he was born in New York, but he's from San Diego. He went to school in San Diego. He didn't have an accent. That's 100% fake. Again, I'm not hating on him for doing it, but the baby doll, that whole thing, it's not real. It's just an act for television. He's a interesting, quirky kind of guy, and I'm sure it wasn't totally out of the totally outside of his family background. Maybe they were originally from New York, But that guy did not grow up in New York City, and that is not a real New York accent. So shame on you, Fox, for making him do that. All right, some final questions. Would I ever do a book with all my recipes? Man, I am really bad at writing down recipes. I'm a chef who generally cooks, like when I cook by myself, when I cook for myself, I cook by like feel, I cook by convenience, I cook by touch and taste. I don't often like follow recipes, or when I follow a recipe, it'll just be as like a broad strokes guidelines. So if for example I want to do a crepe, one of the recipes that I did on my YouTube channel, I started doing some research on sourdough discard crepes, and I looked at somebody else's sweet presentation, and I was like, you know what, I get it. I'm gonna kind of look at some of his measurements. I'm gonna stress test it. I'm gonna sample it. I'm gonna do it kind of similar to the way he did it, and I'm gonna change things based on how I feel like it should be done. And the worst part is I don't measure. Like I started having to measure so that I could give you guys recipes on YouTube so that you could follow along, because it's hard to just be like, do this, do that, and you'll figure it out. But that's what I do. That's genuinely what I do. So maybe as time progresses and I start, developing this practice of writing down my recipes, I will have enough recipes to put out a cookbook. But in the meantime, you'll just have to encourage me and remind me to write down my recipes and make it easier for you guys to follow along. How does Dino's voice actually sound? Dude, that guy stayed in character all the time. Like he was constantly like behaving like that. Like he never left character. But like, I have firsthand knowledge from several of their contestants. I mean, I only interacted with him in like public settings, but I have firsthand knowledge from other contestants, and also I've been told by I've read about people that he went to high school in San Diego with. I was like, dude, that guy didn't have a New York accent. How does he suddenly have a New York accent? Where did that come from? But yeah, all funny, interesting, weird, quirky things about the illusion of MasterChef or reality TV fantasy reality TV. Yeah, it's more fantasy than it is reality, guys. Hate to break it to you. All right. I've talked for basically an hour and 15 minutes straight without much pause. Kind of impressed. My first live stream by myself. Thank you for those of you watching. Thank you for those of you who are putting up with my shenanigans and listening to me rant on and on and on about MasterChef and unfair business practices and unethical ways to treat humans. But it's been an absolute treat to spend this hour plus with you, and please tune in next time, hopefully with my good friend Aaron Chang, and maybe some other guests. See you soon. All right, wait. Some final questions. Have you made roasted cauliflower again since that lesson that you hosted? I make roasted cauliflower all the time, actually. It's kind of one of my staples for vegetables. Not just roasted cauliflower, but roasted broccoli. Like literally on Sunday I made roasted cabbage. Cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, they're all in the same family. And it's just for me, one great, easy, nutritious way to impart flavor without aggressively adding seasonings. Because the natural product is really tasty if you hit it with high heat. So at the end of the day, it's something that I'm doing basically once every other week at the least. It's just so easy. You just get an oven to 500 degrees plus, slice up your vegetables, oil them, salt them, stick them in the oven, and you're done in 20-25 minutes. So yes, I have done it. How do I think differently about the dish now? The negative comments I heard from the people who watched my first YouTube live were, please stop touching your hair and then touching food, which is a real thing. I'm sorry, guys. I'm cooking with an audience. I shouldn't do that. It's a bad habit. I most of the time when I touch my hair, I then went and washed my hands and then immediately went to touch the food. I didn't go hair, food. But it doesn't look good when you're, washing your hands off screen. But anyway, super, super good to spend time with you guys. When it comes to food, think fats, acid, salt, and spice. The end. That was a weird way to sign off. I was just kind of commenting on, do I think differently about the dish now? No, I don't. I'm fantastic at cooking roasted vegetables, and I'll die on that hill. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the people who have stuck with me through this nonsense. Thanks, Mary and Dina and Tyler and Goldie and Acacia and other people whose names I am not sure of. And hopefully I'll see you guys soon. God bless. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you soon.